Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining us as we gather together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, all sorts of good things, and we do have a lot of good things to talk about here today, guys. A couple of kind of surprising things. Lethal Weapon 5? Announcement? Is that what's happening? We got one of the writers of Deadpool talking about what could be in the future for Deadpool as far as where Deadpool 3 could be and what it could be rated. We got that stuff. Matthew McConaughey is going to be going back to work with his True Detective show creator. That and a few things more. But before we get into any of our stuff here, guys, a couple things I wanted to mention to you right off the top here, and that is this. You guys will remember that a couple of times now here on the show, we've dedicated a couple of days over the last couple of years to a place called the 1736 Family Crisis Center. You guys have helped raise money for this place. It is a place for families in dire situations, including women and children getting out of abusive situations and stuff like that. It is a terrific organization and a terrific cause. So, tomorrow will be our third time doing this, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So tomorrow, what we're going to do is this. If you guys go over, and I've got their Twitter handle there, you can see a picture of the site. If you guys go over there today to their website and donate anything, $2, $10, $50, $500, doesn't matter. If you guys go over there and donate to that today, and then take a screenshot of your receipt of it, and then email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com with a question for tomorrow's show and include the screenshot of your donation. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give your guys' questions priority tomorrow. Your guys will be the first questions to get answered tomorrow. And I will match, once we add, because we'll get all the receipts in, I'll add up all the receipts, and then I will personally match whatever it is all of you guys donate, and then we will make that. So let's, you guys have always responded to this well whenever we've done it before. Let's do it again, and I hope you guys will join me for that. Okay. With that stuff out of the way, guys, let's dive in and start doing our main questions. And how do we get our main topics here on the John Campea Show? We see it's really rather simple. You guys come up with our main topics by going anytime, 24/7, over to www.thejohncampeashow.com. That's www.thejohncampeashow.com. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill out that form with your topic or question. It can be about anything, but mostly, you know, it's always better if you do kind of keep it movie news related. It's always better if you do it that way. So fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, it's possible that you could see your topic or question featured here as a main topic right here on the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with all that down and out of the way, let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets sent in to us by Jacob Vanderfleet, who writes, "Hey, John, I really loved True Detective. Well, at least the first season. You know what? I actually kind of like the second season too. Anyway, just wondering if you saw that the show creator, Nick Pizzolatto and Matthew McConaughey are getting together again to do a new show. Do you think they can recapture some of that old True Detective magic?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, that first True Detective season caught a lot of people by surprise, pleasantly. Now, I'm one of those guys that actually the first episode or two, I actually didn't even like that much. Honestly, I watched the first episode or two and I'm like, this isn't very compelling, honestly. I don't find this to be very good. And then kind of like the same thing that happened with Legion, I had a bunch of people writing to me say, "John, stick with it. Trust me," because they saw a few more episodes. "You're going to want to be on board with this. Trust me, watch it, blah, blah, blah." So I'm like, all right. So I went back and watched, and then I ended up loving the first season, especially that one with the long tracking shot with the gunfight going on in the houses. Anyway, so that was all pretty damn good. Anyway, on top of all that, we now hear that Matthew McConaughey is going to get back together again with the creator of that show to do a new show. And apparently it's going to be called Redeemer. Here's the news we got out of Variety. Matthew McConaughey and Nick Pizzolatto are coming together for a potential new TV series at FX. The True Detective collaborators have landed a script-to-series order for a drama series titled Redeemer, which Pizzolatto will write and in which Matthew McConaughey will star. Both will also executive produce the project. In addition, Pizzolatto has signed an overall deal with Fox 21 Television Studios and FX Productions, while McConaughey has signed a first-look deal with FX Productions. All right, so there it is. We've got these guys getting together again, and I have no idea what this show is about at all. I have no idea what this is even remotely about, but I'll tell you what, I do like the title Redeemer. And it's also, this is the other thing. It's also pretty cool because in the world of movies, we always have our favorite director and actor or actress combos, right? Like whether it's a Christopher Nolan always working with Michael Caine, whether it's a Marty Scorsese working with Robert De Niro, a Marty Scorsese working with a Leonardo DiCaprio, a Tim Burton working with a Johnny Depp. Like we do like seeing those combinations. And I think the true is same as well in television. When you get a creator and an on-camera talent that work well and gel, and they just know how to work and function together to make something really cool, why not bring that over as well? Why not do that on television as well? So yeah, even though the name True Detective doesn't have as much heat on it today as maybe it did a few years ago, I think this is a really cool idea. And by the way, coming out of seeing The Gentleman, which I absolutely freaking love, The Gentleman with Matthew McConaughey. I love him in that. It's great seeing him in that. So hearing him being attached to a new show right now kind of gets me excited. Question is, guys, what do you think about the news of Redeemer getting the True Detective team back together again? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Does it really not matter to you? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know what you think. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Geeky Gator, who writes, "Hey, John and gang, a new Fast and Furious 9 teaser has released where did it go? Teaser has released that is a clip of Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez with their kid. I've seen a lot of people, remember, it's not Michelle Rodriguez's kid, but she's kind of the adopted mother, I guess. Anyway, I've seen a lot of people claiming this film will be 2020's highest grosser. It's possible. But I think without The Rock and Jason Statham, this one won't even hit $1 billion. I love how we're using words like won't even hit $1 billion. Like $1 billion is the minimal acceptable mark. Anyway, what do you think of this teaser and of the movie's box office potential? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, the first clip for Fast and Furious has come out and it's been released. Now, this is all in advance of the first trailer that's dropping on Friday. The studio has already sent out notifications that the first full official trailer for F9, Fast and Furious 9, will drop this Friday. So just a couple of days from now is when the first Fast and Furious 9 trailer drops. In the meantime, though, they have put out a little clip, if you will, that basically shows us Dominic Toretto with his child, of course, his child that we got introduced to in the last film. So this is now obviously a couple of years later and things like that. And it's a nice little clip. You know, it's got Vin Diesel saying a very cheesy but very applicable line saying, now that I've got a family, I can't live my life a quarter mile at a time anymore. I mean, so it's actually pretty cool. And listen, there's something heavy about this little spot. There's something heavy about it. And the thing that's heavy about it to me is the idea that I have a feeling something very bad is going to happen to this kid. Now, I have nothing to back that up with. I have absolutely nothing to back that up with. I have no tangible evidence or proof that in this movie, something's going to happen to Dominic Toretto's kid. Not at all. I have not heard that from anybody. I've not seen any rumors about that. I'm just saying that when I watched this trailer, there was something, or a clip, it's not a trailer, it's a clip. When I watched this clip, there's a foreboding to it. There's just certain musical notes that hit it certain ways. The way they do the cinematography with the cross and everything like that. The poster announcing the upcoming trailer that they put out just has that cross that Michelle Rodriguez puts on the kid hanging on a rear view mirror. by itself, ominously, like not around the kid's neck. And I'm telling you right now, listen, Fast and the Furious is a ridiculous, dumb, high action, fun franchise, that kind of things that we just like going to the movies for, right? Not a lot of depth. But I'll tell you what, I'm sitting there watching this trailer, or clip, I should say. I'm sitting here watching this clip, and the thought occurred to me, this kid's gonna die. I don't know. Listen, I'm just saying, I've started getting the feeling that this kid is going to die. And the thought of the kid dying and then reflecting on the poster with just the necklace hanging itself empty and stuff like that, I actually felt emotion. When is the last time we said that about a Fast and the Furious movie? Outside of the Paul Walker scene, driving off in different directions, tons of heart there. But really, how often when talking about Fast and Furious, when we're not talking about real life tragedy, but a tragedy that befalls the characters in the movie, when's the last time something like that happened that we actually felt something on top of all the fun? And I'm watching this, and again, I don't know that this kid's gonna die. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying I've heard any reports or rumors about it. Not at all. I'm just saying the combination of the poster with the angles, the cinematography, the way that clip is set up, the way the music notes hit, there's something in me that feels like this kid's gonna die, and it's gonna be like a Dominic Toretto on a warpath kind of thing, like we've never seen him before. I don't know. It could totally, maybe the kid gets kidnapped, or he's got to do something to protect his family, or whatever it is. That's all fine. All I'm saying is this first clip comes out, and I'm on board with it. Okay, I thought the clip was pretty damn good. And I can't remember the last time I felt something like this with the Fast and Furious movie. Anyway, my question here, guys, is for you. What did you think about this little clip? Maybe you're thinking, Campea, it was just a little clip showing an intro. There's nothing to it. Maybe I might be reading so much too much into this that it's almost undefinable. Or maybe you thought the same thing as me. Did you enjoy it? Are you looking forward to this trailer on Friday? Jump down into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today comes to us from Mike, who writes, "Hey there, John. Hey there, Mike. So Rhett Reese recently said that he thinks that Deadpool 3 could still be rated R even though it's under Disney because, quote, it'd be under the Fox banner. How likely do you think this will happen, if at all? Thanks." All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. Of course, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are the writers of the Deadpool movies. They're great guys. We had them in studio before. They're wonderful, fun guys. Anyway, and I think they do a terrific job. And they've certainly obviously done a great job with the Deadpool franchise. So, of course, now Deadpool is under Disney. We have been, all of us in this whole movie fan sphere, we've all been talking about and discussing and wondering about what is going to be the fate of Deadpool now that it's under the Mouse House. Bob Iger has said several times that he wants to make sure there's a clear distinction between what could be R-rated material and their family-friendly projects, because maintaining and cultivating and caring for that relationship that he has with his consumers is the number one priority to Bob Iger. But what do you do with it? Anyway, what was Rhett Reese talking about? This is the quote in question that Mike is referring to. Rhett Reese was recently asked, when promoting another film, was recently asked about, could Deadpool, even though it's over at Disney and is now owned by Disney, could Deadpool 3 still be rated R? To which he replied the following: absolutely, because I don't think it'll be under the Disney banner. Like, I don't think when you go to Deadpool 3, there's going to be a magic castle that appears. I think it's going to be under the Fox banner. So yes, now of course, he's saying Fox, but we all know that Disney is changing the name of 20th Century Fox to just 20th Century Studios. But we all know what he means when he says Fox. So here's Rhett Reese, one of the writers of Deadpool, getting onto a topic that we've been talking about for a long time. What is going to be the fate of Deadpool? Is it going to be under the MCU? We know Kevin Feige is going to have control of the property, but will Deadpool be in the MCU? Will he be PG-13? Will he be rated R? What's going to happen? So here we've got now a little bit more insight. And remember, Rhett Reese is also saying that he doesn't know definitively. He's just telling us as a writer inside the room what he thinks this is going to turn out. And he's saying, I think this is going to be rated R, but it won't be under the MCU banner. It won't be under the Disney banner. It'll be under the Fox banner or the 20th Century Studios banner, as the case may be. That's how he feels it's going to go. Now, look, I've said for a long time that I love Deadpool as he is. You know, before they did Deadpool, I kind of felt like Deadpool didn't have to be rated R. Now, this is before they did Deadpool. Before Deadpool came out, I thought you don't have to do Deadpool rated R. You can get away with doing in PG-13. But that was in a world that we didn't have Deadpool on the big screen yet. I kind of feel, and I've mentioned this before, I feel like we now live in a world that we have had Deadpool on the big screen. We've had Deadpool on the big screen, and we've had him very rated R. I don't know that you can just suddenly change gears now and neuter Deadpool and bring him back to what would assumedly be a required PG-13 in order for him to be in the aforementioned MCU. I just don't think we can. Now, some people will then make a ridiculous argument to me. They'll go, well, John, Once Upon a Time in Deadpool, or Once Upon a Deadpool, or whatever that Christmas release was, Once Upon a Deadpool was PG-13 and it worked. Yeah, because that was the joke. It was a redux of the previous Deadpool movie, kind of neutered and clipped out and edited and all that kind of stuff. That was the gag. That was the gag. It's not like they put out another separate Deadpool movie all on its own, straight from scratch, made it a PG-13 movie, and yay, it worked. That was the joke. That was the joke. So I don't think that's an applicable argument here. So I've never felt that. But you've got a lot of fans that would love to see Deadpool in the MCU. You've got a lot of fans that would love to see Deadpool interacting with, you know, Spider-Man, or interacting with Doctor Strange, or interacting with whatever and whoever. You got a lot of fans that would want that. The interesting thing here, though, is this. You've got a very unique situation here where there are two realities at play. Reality number one, the MCU doesn't need Deadpool. That's not to say the MCU can't benefit from Deadpool. Of course it could. But does the MCU need Deadpool? Well, obviously the answer to that question is no. The MCU is doing perfectly fine. So it doesn't need Deadpool. Also, the second truth here is that Deadpool doesn't need the MCU. Up until Joker, the Deadpool movies were the highest grossing R-rated films of all time. I mean, I think combined they've made almost $1.5 billion. The MCU doesn't need Deadpool. Deadpool doesn't need the MCU. That doesn't, however, mean that they can't necessarily benefit from crossing over and being with each other. Then you got the whole Bob Iger factor in there. Bob Iger being so protective of the brand image. We don't want to send mixed messages to the parents of families about when is it okay to bring your kid to see something that Deadpool is in, and when is it not okay to bring your kid to see something Deadpool's in. That's something. Now, you may not take that very seriously. I may not take that very seriously, but you better bet your ass that Bob Iger takes that very seriously. He takes that very seriously, which is why he's smarter than all of us and has, you know, made Disney the juggernaut that it is. But he takes that crap very seriously. So, listen, I still think, this is how I think it's going to work out. All right? You may agree, you may disagree. I think the way this is going to work out is the way that Rhett Reese is saying it. I think it'll end up being separate from the MCU under the 20th Century banner, where they may also put some other things. And it'll be separate from the MCU, and it will be rated R. There is still a possibility, though, that they make him PG-13 and have him in the MCU. I think there's been some anecdotal evidence that suggests that could happen as well. So I think the Rhett Reese comments here have given us a little bit of a clearer picture, but still left a lot of things in limbo. So I wanted to put it to you guys. I put it to you guys, and I wanted to ask you, understanding and hearing what Rhett Reese now says, about Deadpool and the MCU and what it could be rated and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to ask you, how do you think this is going to work out? So that's today's question of the day. Just before we started the show, I put this up on my Twitter and asked you guys, with Deadpool writer Rhett Reese saying that he thinks Deadpool 3 will end up being R-rated and under the 20th Century banner, how do you think Deadpool will work out? Not how do you want it to work out, but how do you think it will work out? Really interesting numbers here. A little over 2,000 of you guys have already cast your votes. And right now, leading is actually the majority of you guys think that Deadpool 3 will end up being under the 20th Century banner and being rated R. 25% of you, nearly a full quarter of you guys, believe that Deadpool will be R and will still be under the MCU. Next up, 8.6% of you guys feel like they will move Deadpool to being PG-13 and keep him in the MCU. And then trailing down behind, 1.7% of you guys believe that Deadpool 3 will be under 20th Century and be PG-13. I don't see the argument for that one. Like, if you're going to have him PG-13, why not have him in the MCU instead of 5? But hey, 1.7% of you guys believe this. So again, R under 20th Century, 64.5%. R under the MCU, 25.1%. PG-13 under the MCU, 8.6%. And PG under 20th Century Fox, 1.7%. So what do you guys think about that? How do you think this whole thing is going to work out? Do you see arguments for one side or the other? Let me know what they are. Jump down into the comment section below, guys, and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Dylan Strickland, who writes, "Okay, John, we are running out of time for January." Oh, here we go. "We are running out of time for January, and the question is killing me. What are your top 10 movies of 2019? I know you hate top 10s, but I'm super intrigued to know. Thanks, and bring on the filthy." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, I have been so procrastinating getting this list together for a couple of reasons. When the new year happened, when January 1st hit, there were still one or two films that I knew would be in contention for my top 10 that I hadn't seen yet. I wanted to make sure I saw those. And then I've just been so busy with the channel, with the documentary that we're making, all that kind of stuff. So I have been I've been procrastinating, but I have been putting off doing my top 10 list. But I thought, damn it, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it before January's over. So here we are, guys. We're going to do my personal top 10. Now remember, these top 10 lists are completely arbitrary. It is the top 10 to me. My list is going to look different than your list because that's the nature of film. It all strikes us differently. My list will look different than your list. I want to mention a couple of honorable mentions before we get into my top 10. Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx. Fabulous movie. So good. So well done. Enjoyed it immensely. Peanut Butter Falcon. Well, I mean, you could mention another Shia LaBeouf movie as well. Honey Boy, Peanut Butter Falcon. Both incredible movies. So much depth, so much heart. Enjoyed them tremendously. They're just so good. What's the number one rule, everybody? Party. They were just so great. I mean, so there's a couple honorable mentions. Also, I just want to mention a couple of really great pleasant surprise movies. Crawl was such a great pleasant surprise movie. Ready or Not, such a great pleasant surprise movie. Fighting with My Family, such a pleasant surprise movie. So there's some really good pleasant surprise movies in there as well. But let's not waste any time. Let's dive into it and get into my top 10 of the year. And by the way, I may recite my top 10 again in 3 months, and one or two of these films may change order. I mean, that's just the nature of it. But for now, here are my top 10 films of 2019. We're going to start off, we're going to go from bottom to the top. Ooh, you guys all know what my number one film is, but whatever. We're going to go from the bottom to the top. We're going to start at number 10. Number 10, making it into my top 10 films of the year, the excellent film, even if it was too long, Marty Scorsese's The Irishman. Yes, this film was too long because it was longer than what this film needed to be. This film didn't need to have all the awesomeness. It didn't need to be the length that it was. That notwithstanding, the movie is great. The performances are stellar. I think Robert De Niro was robbed of a Best Lead Actor. Robbed might be too strong of a word, but I think Robert De Niro deserved a Best Lead Actor nomination at the Academy Awards this year. This is Scorsese telling a Scorsese-like story with performances that he seems uniquely able to bring out. Ray Romano was also really good in this film, by the way. Everybody was excited about The Irishman, and The Irishman delivered. And delivered well. So The Irishman gets the number 10 spot on my best films of the year list. All right, let's move on to number 9. And number 9 is a film that was my number 1 film of the year for a little while. My number 9 film right now is Booksmart. Now, I know this one isn't going to make it onto a lot of people's lists, and that's fine. But within this raunchy comedy, there's these things we call raunchy comedies. We don't expect depth or heart or humanity in a lot of these raunchy comedies. We just expect good laughs, and that's fine. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But what Olivia Wilde was able to do with Booksmart, she was able to, I call Booksmart the smarter man's Superbad. I think Booksmart is the smarter man's Superbad. But not only did it have great laughs, like hilarious, hard belly laughs, I found it had way more depth and way more heart, and I loved these characters, and I loved their dynamic together, and it shouldn't have surprised us that the lead girl is actually Jonah Hill's sister, so there's another little Superbad connection. But I thought what Olivia Wilde did with this simple premise in what we normally think about as a raunchy kind of coming-of-age, leaving school comedy, she put so much more into it than I thought, and I remember walking out of that theater earlier in the year just being like, my heart was full watching it. My heart was full watching it with fun and laughter and emotion. I just think the movie's great, and I honestly think it gets a little bit underrated. So yes, without any shame, I tell you that for me, Booksmart makes it in my top 10, and it is my number 9 film of the year. All right, let's now move on to my number 8 film of the year. Number 8. Maybe the best performance of the year from Joaquin Phoenix. I'm calling it The Joker. Joker is the best comic book movie of the year. It is one of the overall best films of the year. It has one of, if not the best performance of the year from Joaquin Phoenix. It took the approach of let's take a comic book character, but let's throw the rules of a comic book movie out the window and just make a great, compelling story without worrying about sticking to the motifs of a comic book movie, and tell this story of a comic book character if he were in our real world today, facing some of the real world issues that are faced today. What would Joker look like? And the only way you're going to be able to pull that out is to get a world-class performance, and they did that with Joaquin Phoenix. I remember, too, when one of the things that excited me most about Joker was the fact that thankfully, we were finally getting a comic book based film that isn't connected to any of the ridiculous shared cinematic universes. And I love the shared cinematic universes. I do, but I just think it's ridiculous that everything has to be in a shared cinematic universe. Like that so limits creativity, and it so limits the imagination, and it's so limiting to what the filmmakers can do. I was so excited when they announced this Joker movie because it was going to be outside of any existing shared cinematic universe, just to see a filmmaker really just tell a story without any handcuffs on and see what they can really do. And what Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix were able to pull off was nothing short of wonderful and amazing. Top 10 film of the year. I love Joker. You're probably going to see Joaquin Phoenix win Best Actor this year, and deservedly so. So at number 8, I've got Joker. Okay, let's move on to number 7. Our 7th film on our list, talking about performances, dear heavens, and maybe a guy that could be challenging Joaquin Phoenix for Best Lead Actor. Talking about Marriage Story. Here's the thing. This to me was the most remarkable thing about watching Marriage Story. All right. Besides the amazing revelatory performance of Adam Driver. I mean, we all knew Adam Driver was good. I didn't know that we understood that he was this good. Okay. Whether it was the incredible performance by Scarlett Johansson or Laura Dern, or everybody else in this film. Usually, great movies do one of two things. They give a wild premise and experience, or they give us something that feels incredibly real. And it seems like the more wild of the experience you want to give an audience, the further away from making it feel real, and vice versa. And so you've got great films that do one, great films that do the other. Marriage Story is one of these movies that just felt wild to watch because of the dynamics that were going on, but at the same time felt brutally, uncomfortably familiar and real to the audience. And none of that works if they don't get the performances that they need to really give it that authentic kind of feel to it. And what Marriage Story did is nothing short of remarkable. It's my number 7 film of the year. All right, let's move on to my number 6 film of the year. And my number 6 film of the year, I also call it one of my great little surprises because it looked cute. I didn't know it would be as deep and as moving as it was. And I didn't know Awkwafina could legit act until I saw The Farewell. You know, Awkwafina, I knew she could be really funny. I knew she could be really funny. I mean, she stole the show in Crazy Rich Asians. But I didn't know she was capable of doing what she did in this movie. I don't think her performance was so good that she deserved a Best Actress nomination, but I didn't know she was capable of doing the things she did in this movie. It asks intriguing moral dilemma questions. You know, do you lie to somebody you love if you think it's for their benefit, and all that kind of stuff? The family dynamics, while being from a different culture altogether, were remarkably familiar to all of us. The performance is great. Again, it was the moral questions, because I remember Ann and I watched it, and we were heartwarming, and we laughed, and Ann cried a lot as well. And when we walked out, this is when you know a movie does moral questions well. When the first thing you talk about when you walk out is, what would we do? What would we do in a situation like that? What would we want to be done? And The Farewell just does it in such a brilliant way. It is a marvelous, wonderful film. There's a lot of people out there that this is the number 1 film of the year. I loved it incredibly. It gets into my top 10. It is my number 6 film of the year. The Farewell. Let's now move into the top 5. At number 5 is a movie that I knew from day one. Now, a lot of times we know a movie's going to be awesome and then it doesn't turn out to be. Well, fortunately for Ford v Ferrari, this is one of the movies that we knew was going to be awesome because it looked incredible, and thankfully it turned out to be awesome. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit perplexing to me how little buzz and little heat Ford v Ferrari's get. This movie is fan-frickin-tastic. This movie works on every level. All the performances are strong. The cinematography is great. The capturing of the period is wonderful. It's got action. It's got laughs. It's got pain. Everything you want in a movie. Ford v Ferrari, or Le Mans 66, depending on where you live, is the title of it. This movie delivered. It's insane. It's so good. And I am absolutely beside myself that there is not actually more heat and more buzz for this movie than there is. Because it is one of the best films of the year. It is freaking brilliant. I'm really glad it got a Best Picture nomination, but it didn't really get much else Academy love outside of that. But yeah, Ford v Ferrari, first film in my top 5. It takes the number 5 spot for me. Wow, such a good film. Such a good film. All right, now we move into our top 4. And our number 4 film, again, it's a movie I suspected would be good, but it was actually even far better than I was expecting, and that's Knives Out. This movie is a masterclass on how to make movies. You have a movie that is populated with rich, colorful characters in a classic whodunit motif. A lot of it happens in one location in this house. The writing of this movie is stellar. The directing of this movie is stellar. The performances in this movie are stellar. And I really get a personal kick out of a lot of movies that tend to feel like they're made as a live stage play. I get a kick out of movies that feel like they're made as a live stage play. Knives Out kind of has a little bit of that feel in all the best ways possible. And I love the fact that Rian Johnson wanted to take us back, a return to the classic whodunit, Daniel Craig is absolutely fantastic in it. And of course, for a small little movie like this, it did very, very well at the box office. They are already moving forward and developing a part 2 so we can see the adventures of this detective played by Daniel Craig. Now that he's not going to be Bond anymore, the adventures of this detective solving more crimes before it. And I'll tell you what, I am all on board for it. This movie is bloody fantastic. Make sure you go and check it out if you have not yet. The number 4 film of the year for me is Knives Out. Guys, see Knives Out. All right, we now move into our top 3. At number 3 is a movie that is not necessarily my pick to win Best Picture, but it is the film I think will win Best Picture. All right? It wouldn't be my vote for number 1, but I believe this is the film that will win Best Picture, and I, for one, will have no complaints when it does, and that is the incredible 1917. I remember when the first spots for 1917 came out, it looked interesting. I mean, we heard about those. Okay, it's about a couple soldiers trying to get a front to stop an attack that could be an ambush. Okay, simple enough, basic enough. World War I movie, could be interesting, neat. Then we started hearing these incredible things about it, and I thought, well, this is probably just all overhype. And then I got to see it for myself and realized that the hype was real. The cinematography in this is breathtaking. What could have been a weird kind of shtick, maybe even a weak little shtick of trying to give the feel like the whole thing was all big one long tracking shot, worked incredibly well. It gave the movie a sense of intimacy. This shtick of making it all feel like one big shot, it gave the movie a sense of intimacy. And I didn't know it would do that or know how it did that. But it felt like you were right there on the shoulder with these guys as they were traversing the horrors that they were traversing. And the ending is very satisfying, all that kind of stuff as well. 1917 is, I said that Knives Out is a masterclass in a certain style of filmmaking. 1917 is a masterclass in another style of filmmaking. How this was even conceived of by Sam Mendes, I'm not sure. I mean, he says it's from stories passed down to him, but how he conceptualized the idea of how they made this movie, to me, is absolutely remarkable. It is the one that I would put my money on to win Best Picture, and I'll have no complaints when it does because it is absolutely worthy. My number 3 film of the year, once again, is 1917. All right, now we get into our top 2. My number 2 favorite film of the year. I had number 1 film of the year. I came out of the theater watching this, and I immediately said, this is my number 1 film of the year because I hadn't seen the other film yet. But for a long time, for a period of time, Parasite was, for a short little window, my number 1 film of the year. It's Parasite. Listen, the best way I know how to describe this little film, Parasite, is to say that it's the classic Michael Caine and Steve Martin comedy, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. So imagine Dirty Rotten Scoundrels being directed by Quentin Tarantino. That's the best way I know how to describe Parasite. It draws you in immediately. Like the moment you start meeting this family, this mother, father, brother, sister, and then the other family as well in question, like you're drawn in immediately. But what is insane about this movie is how quickly, seamlessly, and smoothly it kind of transitions from being one kind of a movie into another kind of a movie. In some way, it's a big con/heist kind of movie. Then it's kind of a retrospective thriller in some way. And then in some ways there's a little bit of a horror element in some way. And then it just seamlessly flows in and out of these things, constantly challenging your expectations of the movie, constantly challenging your presuppositions of the movie, constantly challenging where you think this movie's going to go next. And everything from, again, the performances of it, the layout, the flow of it, just the nature of this film was one of the best theater experiences I had all year. And, every once in a while we hear about a certain foreign film and everybody raves like it's the greatest thing. And many times it doesn't live up to the hype that we heard for it. Parasite is one of those films that does. And I just remember being floored by this movie when I came out of it. So yes, Parasite is my number 2 film. And by the way, I believe a dark horse. I believe a dark horse to win Best Picture. It's going to be 1917, but I think Parasite could be a dark horse to win that. Anyway, that, guys, brings us to my number 1 film of the year. And I've been saying this film has been my favorite film of the year for months now. Nothing has taken its place. You guys already know what it is. And there's nothing I can say about it that I haven't already said. My number one best film of 2019 to me, unexpectedly, is Jojo Rabbit. This is a movie where, I was saying this about Awkwafina a little bit before, but I've said this about Taika Waititi. We know Taika Waititi is talented. We know Taika Waititi is good. We know he can deliver entertainment. We know he can deliver laughs. But Jojo Rabbit, to me, showed us something in Taika Waititi that I didn't know he was capable of. Taika Waititi played the audience like a fine instrument. It was heartwarming and funny. And then we would be reminded of the grips and the horror of what World War II in Germany under Hitler could have been and what it would have been like. And just as the movie starts to feel very heavy, he strikes a different note. He plays his violin a different way, Taika Waititi does. He strikes a different note and then brings in a laugh and a giggle. And he finds a way, masterfully, like a maestro, from beginning to end of Jojo Rabbit, to maintain this flow of the heaviness and sadness, joy and laughter, heaviness and sadness, warmth and humanity, heaviness and sadness, more laughter. And he just finds a way to strike this balance and this chorus and this harmony of notes that by the end of the film, I remember walking out of it and just like standing stunned for a minute. Beyond just the gags of, the little kid with the rocket launcher, beyond that, you got to see the humanity of it, and has one of the most powerful, and I'll go say it, this movie has the most powerful scene out of any movie this year. And all you guys say is the shoe scene. And anybody who's seen Jojo Rabbit knows exactly what you're talking about. To me, it was unmistakably, undeniably the most single powerful moment of any movie this year. I never felt as much in any movie this year as I did when I realized what I was looking at on screen in the shoe scene. When that happened, I haven't had that kind of emotion. Not from other heavy, sad things like maybe in The Marriage Story. Not big, exciting things like maybe in Endgame. Nothing gave me an emotional moment as profound or probably long-term memorable as that scene in Jojo Rabbit. Now, it won't be like that for everybody. But that's what it did for me. So just to recap, guys, my top 10 films of 2019 are The Irishman, Booksmart at number 9, at number 8, Joker, at number 7, Marriage Story, at number 6, The Farewell, at number 5, Ford v Ferrari, at number 4, Knives Out, at number 3, and probably your Best Picture winner at the Academy Awards this year, 1917. At number 2, Parasite. And of course, which has been for months now, but it remained in top spot, my number 1 film of the year for me was Jojo Rabbit. So there you have it, guys. There's my top 10 films of 2019. Question is, look, all top 10 lists are going to be unique. Your list is going to look different than my list, and your list is going to look different from the guys next to you list. All of our lists are going to look different, but those are films, 10 absolutely fantastic, wonderful films with a lot of other fantastic, wonderful films that didn't even make it on the list. That's how good the year of 2019 was in film. So guys, what do you think? Jump on down to the comment section below. Let me know your top 10 list. What does your top 10 list look like? Jump on down there and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our 5th and final main topic today. And our 5th and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Rohan Green. I knew a Rohan Green. Anyway, aren't they getting too old for this shit? See what I did there? I do see what you did there. What do you think about the reports that the whole gang is coming back to do a Lethal Weapon 5? I love all the original ones, but didn't the window close on this like a long time ago? Do you think it'll actually get made? And if so, will people come out to support it? All right. Thanks a lot for sending in that question, man. And yes, for those of you who may have missed it, the producer, Dan Lin, when doing a roundtable about something else unrelated, got to talking about Lethal Weapon. And he's suggesting they are indeed going to be doing a 5th one. This is the quote from Dan Lin. We're trying to make the last Lethal Weapon movie, and Dick Donner, that's Richard Donner, is coming back. 90-year-old Richard Donner, they're saying, is coming back to direct it. Said Lin, the original cast is also coming back. So apparently they've got everybody back on board. The original cast is coming back, and it's just amazing. The story itself is very personal to him, talking about Richard Donner. Mel and Danny are ready to go, so it's about the script. All right, so there it is. We've got the producer of this thing saying, we're going to do it. We want to do it. The director wants to do it. Richard Donner wants to do it. Danny Glover, Mel Gibson, they're both on board to come back and do it. The original cast is back. We've got a great story, all that kind of stuff. The question is it going to happen? I honestly don't think it will happen. You know, it's one thing, is he said something key there. He says it's all about the script. So they're basically saying they don't actually have a script yet. We've got a bunch of people that want to do it. They've got a story idea that they really like, but they don't even have a script yet, and they certainly don't have a green light from any studio. I, for one, count myself as one of the guys that I am totally down for Lethal Weapon 5. I'm totally down for Lethal Weapon 5. Sign me up. I'll watch it tomorrow. Sign me up. I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. So if it does happen, I'll be there with bells on, man. I will be there with bells on. I think despite Dan Lin's enthusiasm, I fear that despite Richard Donner's enthusiasm, I fear that despite Danny Glover and Mel Gibson's, excitement and willingness to come back and do it again, I think you raise, Rohan, some interesting and important questions. Would a studio actually greenlight it? And would the audience actually come out to support it? And those two questions are obviously in and of themselves, undeniably connected to each other as well. Let's start with, would the audience come out to support it? I have my doubts. I'll be there. I'd certainly be there. Maybe you would be there too, but I don't know. There's a couple of big reasons here. Number one, it's been over 20 years since the last one. Now, we've seen some franchises take a long break like that, come back and do something special, do something well. And that absolutely could be the case here. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time. The other thing you have to keep in mind with this is that, look, while Mel Gibson has done a lot of good stuff in the last decade, Mel Gibson has done some really good stuff. The fact of the matter is, and I don't want to get into the controversy here, I don't want to state or challenge anybody's position or anybody's point of view in this. I'm just saying that Mel Gibson is still, there are some question marks around Mel Gibson, and there are still a number of people in the audience that are uncomfortable with Mel Gibson. Right or wrong, fair or unfair, that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. When you combine those things, now it flows into the other half of that equation. Would a studio greenlight it? Would a studio want to put up the $50 million, the $45 million that it would take to make such a movie? When Mel Gibson, I actually lost track. How old? Wait a second. Maybe I should just ask, hey, Google, how old is Mel Gibson? Find out here in a second because I don't know how old he is.
64 years old.
So Mel is 64. Hey, Google, how old is Danny Glover? We'll see how old. So we got six.
Danny Glover is 73 years old.
And Danny Glover's 73. Can you do an action cop movie with these guys? Clearly the story would be they're in retirement. Probably one of the children of one of the guys they put away comes back looking for revenge. We've seen that before, but whatever. I just don't know that a studio greenlights it. Despite the enthusiasm Dan Lin seems to have, he's like, the director's here, the cast is here, we're ready to go. Just give us $45 million to make it. And I don't know that anybody's going to. And I'd like to be incorrect about that because I personally would watch this. I would personally watch the hell out of this. And I think there are some other people who would too, but enough that would make a studio stand up and say, yeah, we greenlit it. I have my doubts. I hope I'm wrong about that though. So the question I have for you guys is kind of, multi here. Number one, Would you be interested in a Lethal Weapon 5? But now take that question and put it aside. So there's the question, would you go and watch a Lethal Weapon 5? Now let's ask another completely different question. Do you honestly think a lot of other people would? And do you think they're going to make this movie? And I don't know. Again, I hope they do, but I just don't know if it'll happen. What do you guys think about all this? Jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all that stuff down and out of the way now, we're going to move into our live questions to take the questions you guys have been firing in live. But before we do, as we do every day here on the show, I'm going to take a quick 4-minute break. Rest the vocal cords, stretch the legs, refill my drink, all that kind of good stuff. Give you a chance to run, use the bathroom, answer that text, whatever you're going to do. So guys, if you will hang tight, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. We'll see you in just a minute. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I went up there to get my drink. All right, let's keep things going now and jump into our live questions. Once again, guys, just a quick reminder that on tomorrow's show, we're going to start off the live questions, and the questions that are going to get answered first on tomorrow's show are going to be those of you who go on over to the 1736 Family Crisis Center's website. You can find their website. Go on over there, make a donation to them for families in crisis, including women and children getting out of abusive situations and others as well. It's a great thing. If you guys go over there, make any kind of donation to their cause. If you then take a screen capture of that donation and email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com with a question for the show, and you include that screenshot of the receipt that you donated, your guys' questions will get answered first on the show tomorrow. And I will personally match and equal all the donations that you guys sent in and that we are able to count up. So it's a great cause, guys. We've supported them before. We'll do it again in the future, but those will be the priority questions answered tomorrow, just so you know. Okay. With that down, let's get on to the live questions today. And our first live question today comes to us from TJ Lynn, who writes, I'm honored yesterday Erin saying that she wants to follow my Twitter due to my positive overlooking talking about the Oscar winners, but I'm not active in social media at all. The main reason I use Twitter is so I can follow and like tweets from John Campea. Well, thank you so much, TJ, for that. I appreciate that. But you know what, Erin is very active on social media. Like she engages a lot with people on social media and stuff like that. So send her out a tweet. She'll probably see it, man. So thank you for that. I appreciate the kind words, TJ. All right. Next up, James writes, just found out that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the song Sharon Tate listens to on vinyl was produced by Terry Meckler, the dude Manson was looking for when he visited the house, who Manson hoped would sign him to a record deal. Crazy detail. I have no idea if that's true. If that's true, I had no idea. That actually is a really interesting little detail that adds some more context and texture to the film itself. Again, look, many of you probably noticed I didn't have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on my list. I actually don't think the film is all that great. I think Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are stupid good in it. Stupid good. And you know I love Quentin Tarantino, but this was not one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino films. And I've gone into in the past the issues that I had with it, whatnot. But that is actually an interesting little thing to know. I got to look into that one, James. Thank you for the little factoid. I'm going to look into that. All right. The Wonder One writes, hold on a second. Let me bring this up here. Okay, here we go. All right. The Wonder One writes, finally watching My Hero Academia and loving it, wanted to caution you from going into it expecting something groundbreaking from all the hype. I think it's more well done than your average anime, and you can't help but fall in love with the characters. This is one of the great things about people sending in recommendations. And we say this all the time, but the great thing about when people send in recommendations is not that I go watch them, but it's that there are thousands of other people watching this show and they hear these recommendations and they go check it out. And I've had so many people for a while now, including my wife, telling me that I need to check out My Hero Academia, which I've never gotten around to doing, and I will at some point. I will. But Wonder One is another great example of another person watching it, somebody else in the film fan community, hearing all the recommendations coming in, so they went and checked it out, and now they appreciate it. So that's awesome. And I'm glad you liked it, Wonder One. You guys all finally broke me down. I am going to sit down and watch it. Now, it probably won't be until after I'm done my movie. But, and I just found out yesterday, may have to go to England. I've never been to England. I've never been to the UK. I may have to fly out to England for my documentary to interview somebody in particular for my documentary. So I may have to make my first trip to England. But anyway, I will get around to watching My Hero Academia. It's just probably going to be after I get my documentary done, which I'm hoping will be after Comic-Con. But anyway, we'll see. Thanks for that, Wonder One, and I'm glad you heard everybody's recommendation. All right. We keep moving on here. Ryan Lohner writes, I just found out that Calanth from The Witcher is also Alice from Last of the Mohicans. Oh, wow. She just loves making suicidal jumps rather than be captured. Listen, it has been far too long since I've watched Daniel Day-Lewis in Last of the Mohicans. It's been way too long. I really stay alive. I mean, but I'm not remembering. It's been too long since I've seen it, man. So I'm not able to put those pieces together. Speaking of The Witcher, though, my wife introduced me yesterday, because you know the song, going to Witcher, oh valley of plenty. You know the song, right? So yesterday, me, Anne, and my brother-in-law, Ray, Anne's brother, who works on the show, he does our graphics. We were driving to dinner last night. We went to Universal City Walk to go to dinner. And Anne played this one song, and it just sounded like the song from The Witcher. And I thought it was like from the soundtrack. I thought, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But it was this metal version of it. Like after the first few bars, the guitars start kicking in, right? And I'm like, this is really good. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. If you haven't, just go on YouTube, search coin for your Witcher metal, and look it up. And it's probably will be the first one that comes up. And it's really, really good. So you just reminded me that's mentioning the Witcher, Ryan. So thank you for that. Anyway, Murray Reich writes, binged all 9 episodes of the new Harley Quinn, and I love it. I'm 1 episode behind. I haven't seen the newest one yet. It's so funny and so vulgar, which I dig. I know this will never happen, but I would be down with Disney doing R-rated animated Star Wars show. Oh, that'll never happen. It can even be on Hulu if they wish. Your thoughts. Here's the thing. Okay, so Harley Quinn, another show that I had absolutely no interest in, but because so many people told me I should check it out, I did, and now me and Anne are obsessed with the show. Anne and I love this show. The vulgarity is not what makes it good. The vulgarity works. It works great with this, but it's just great writing. It's the quick humor and the quick wit. I mean, honestly, if they took out the vulgarity, it would still be a really funny show. So I don't believe that, it's the vulgarity that makes it funny. No, it's great funny writing, and they happen to utilize a lot of very dirty, vulgar stuff in their writing. But you just take a Star Wars show and just say fuck a lot, it won't make it good, right? You got to have that quick wit, that incredible writing. I just think they've done such a great job with that show that I find myself laughing hysterically. But I also believe that if it was the same writers, they probably could have made it almost as funny to me, even without the vulgarity. But I love the filthy. What can I say? Bring on the filthy. I love the filthy in it. It is great. But I don't know that you can just take like another property like Star Wars and say, oh, just say the F-bomb a lot and do a lot of dirty things, and that'll make it good all by itself. We've seen a lot of things just try to be dirty for the sake of being dirty, and they turn out to be crap. This show is a great mixture of, first and foremost, a terrific pace, great quick wit, and incorporating a lot of filthiness all at the same time. So, but you are right, Murray. There is no way ever that Bob Iger, as long as he's breathing, will ever allow something like that in like a Star Wars property. Not at all. But it works great for Harley Quinn. It really does. All right, let's keep moving here. Isaac S. writes, I just saw M, 1931 by Fitz Lang, and holy crap, it's one of the first films to use sound, yet Lang used the sound so brilliantly. You can see how much influence it had in filmmaking, and that third act, Peter Lorre, was fantastic. Love that film. I remember, if I'm remembering the right one, there was a buddy of mine. Let me just, because before I make myself sound too terribly stupid, or at least more stupid than I normally do, because I just want to make sure I'm talking about the right one. And it is. Okay. So I had this buddy of mine, Frank. Back in the day, he was a movie theater manager in my hometown city of Hamilton. And he got me turned on to a couple of films. And this, M, was one of them. But it was one amongst many. Like there was Third Man, Double Indemnity. Like I remember there's a few that he had turned me on to. It clearly didn't make the same impact on me because nothing about it stands out to me. So clearly didn't have the same impact on me. Because I remember very, very little about it. I didn't even know when you say like one of the first films that I don't even know if I ever knew that. I don't know that I ever knew that. So that's a really interesting. That's one of the things I love about doing this show. I learn so much from our audience. That's the great thing about the film fan community. We all learn so much from each other. It's great. But I didn't even know that. I don't even recall the third act. I don't even recall the third act, to be honest with you. It's been a long, long time. But anyway, glad you found that treasure. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad it made a bigger impact on you than it did me. But that's always great to hear about these films. And because you mentioned it, Isaac, there's probably going to be some people now that are watching this show that are going to go and check it out. So well done. All right. Benny95 writes, John, thank you for inspiring myself and others to give something a crack. I applied for a production shoot requiring 4 actors and models for a 4-hour corporate shoot and didn't think I'd apply or get it. And then I thought of your words of wisdom. I applied it and I got it. That's exciting, man. Well done. Yeah, listen, there is no such thing as a magic button you press and everything works. Nah, man, that's not how life works. But you give yourself a much better chance of doing some really growth, fun, interesting things in life that hopefully move you towards your goals if you actually just get off your damn ass and actually go out and try some things, right? And it's funny, good things happen. Good things can happen, I should say, when you just get off your ass and do something. Good things can happen. It's not necessarily automatic that they will, but good things can happen when you just get off your ass and try something. You know, I remember the Hockey Night in Canada commentator would always say, look, good things can happen when you throw the puck at the net. Now, you're playing hockey, just throw that puck towards the net. Good things can happen. The goalie could be confused. Somebody could tip it. Weird things. Just good things can happen when you throw the puck at the net. Good things can happen when you just get off your ass, quit being scared, although we all feel it, quit being scared and try. Try, do something. Maybe you try it and it didn't work out. Okay, but now you've done it. Now it'll be easier to try it again later. Maybe that won't work. And maybe only 1 out of 100 will. But good things can happen when you get off your ass. Very few things, but all everybody wants to do, all people want to do is sit on their fucking asses and do nothing and just wait for somebody, because they feel entitled, wait for somebody to come along and give them something. Get off your ass, do something, and when you do, neat things can happen. And I'm glad you embraced that, Benny, and I'm glad you're doing that, and I hope you have a really good experience with it, man. All right. Eric writes, I saw 1917 again in Dolby, and oh my God, this movie is just effing beautiful. When Schofield's in the river, we don't want to give too much away. Cry time. Deakins is a god amongst men. Saw Little Women as well with no interest at all, but loved it. Hope both win big at the Oscars. Listen, Little Women is also another really, really good film this year. And I was really happy with that because the last film that Greta Gerwig did was Lady Bird, and everybody loved it. And it got nominated for Best Picture. And I didn't like the film. I'm one of the very, very few people in the world that just straight up didn't like the movie. And so I admittedly put off watching Little Women because, again, it was the same thing like Lady Bird. Everybody's talking about how good it is and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I just didn't like her last film and everybody else did. So blah. And then I finally got around to watching it. And you know what? It's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. This one I can agree with everybody on. And I was really happy to see that with all the hype. So that was a good one. But yeah, man, the way that movie is directed and shot, 1917, it's inspiring. I mean, it's really inspiring. And do you know what? Here's the other really inspiring thing about it. Despite the fact that a lot of technology went into it, you, with a camera and a couple of friends, you can make a story. Yes, there was some ridiculously advanced cinematography techniques and some ridiculously advanced technology that was used, but when you really sit down and look at the bones of 1917, you, with a camera and a couple of friends, can make a story. Maybe you can't make 1917, but you can tell a damn good story. And that to me is another angle of 1917 that I just found really great and really inspiring. And oh God, what a movie. Okay, anyway, let's keep moving on. Thanks for sending that in, man. An anonymous viewer writes in, the Knicks vow to go on a 24-game losing streak. Toby Link, the great Brian. That's funny in the midst of tragedy. That is funny within the midst of tragedy. And you know, You know, it's funny. I mentioned already that Ann and Ray and I, we went to dinner last night, and Ray's a big basketball fan and big Lakers fan, loved Kobe. And obviously my wife did as well. Kobe was my wife's all-time favorite athlete. And we sat having dinner, and part of our dinner was just like talking about Kobe and the tragedy of it, and the other families involved as well. And it's just so horrible. But you know, you really did. I noticed it walking even around Universal City Walk last night. Almost every billboard, like electronic billboard, had some kind of in memory of Kobe up. I saw a lot of people. I mean, it's LA. You're going to see some people wearing jerseys, but I saw a few more people than normally would, particularly in 24 Kobe jerseys. You just can't understand, because I know I wouldn't have if I didn't live here. You just can't understand what Kobe Bryant meant to this city. You just can't understand it unless you live here. For my Canadian brothers, I would say imagine tomorrow if they announced that Wayne Gretzky passed away. I mean, that's the closest equivalent I can come up with. It's crazy. And you know what? It brought up this interesting thing. Why? And the question is asked, and it's a fair question. Why do we care? Why should we care? Why do we care at all that Kobe Bryant died in a car? We didn't know Kobe Bryant. We didn't know him. Who cares? People die every day. People die every day. And we don't mope around and cry about it. Why are we being so impacted by the death of Kobe Bryant? Why was I so impacted at the death of Carrie Fisher? Why were we so broken up at the death of Robin Williams? We don't know. Who the hell cares? We don't even know them. And I thought about that last night. And maybe it's different for different people. But here's my theory as to why so many people cared that a guy they probably never met in their lives, didn't know them or anything else, and there was nothing else special about him other than the fact that he was a brilliant basketball player, apparently a good father, loved his kids, blah, blah. But, you know, when Carrie Fisher died, I broke up, not because I was great friends with Carrie Fisher, which I wasn't. It was, I had spent so much of my life with her virtually on a screen. There was so much time of my life has been spent with Carrie Fisher as a part of it. You know, being on those adventures with Princess Leia and everything on the screen and all that kind of stuff. And so when she died, I felt it. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, maybe that's fair, maybe that's unfair, but when she died, I felt it, like I'm sure a lot of you guys felt it. When Robin Williams passed away, I broke down. I didn't know Robin Williams, but there were so many moments in my life and so much time in my life that Robin Williams gave me joy. Robin Williams gave me joy. Whether it's from watching Aladdin or Good Morning Vietnam or Dead Poets Society or World According to Garp or all the other things that he did. Robin Williams in my life gave me a lot of joy. He's somebody who gave that to me. And so when he passed away, I felt it. It's one who gave so much positive experiences in my life to me, even though he didn't know me and I didn't know him. That person being gone affected me pretty deeply, way more than I thought it would. Apply that same principle to a city like Los Angeles and a player like Kobe Bryant. There are millions of people who every night Kobe would play would gather together with friends and family in sports bars and whatever, and at the exploits of Kobe Bryant would jump and cheer and feel city pride with, you know, because it's their town. Kobe was representing their city, and countless night after night after night and year after year, he gave those experiences to a lot of people that lived here. Just like Carrie Fisher gave a lot of us who are Star Wars fans those moments, those experiences, those years of connectedness, even if we didn't know her. Just like Robin Williams, when he passed away, so many of us, he was a part of our lives because he imparted to us so many great experiences. With Kobe Bryant, I believe the same principle is there. There are millions and millions of people who would feel excitement and joy and euphoria at his exploits. Again, pride in their city, pride in their team, pride in that he gave that experience to them. And right or wrong, fair or unfair, having ever met him or not, when somebody in your life who has given and delivered to you so many of those memorable experiences, whether it was in person or somebody you just watched on a screen, we feel it. We feel it. Somebody who gave me so much joy is gone, and now I feel it. And I don't know that our hearts recognize the distinction between knowing somebody who gave us all these positive, wonderful experiences in person, or the difference between that and somebody who delivered to us all these positive, memorable experiences and they were just on a digital screen. I don't know that our heart makes a distinction. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But to everybody who is saying, who cares? Why do we care about Kobe? Why do we care when Carrie Fisher dies? Why do we? I think that's it. I think it's just a recognition of our hearts anguishing in the loss of somebody who gave our hearts a lot of joy. Not that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. These were some late night post Mexican food thoughts that crossed my mind. Maybe you guys relate with it a little bit, or maybe you don't. Anyway, Porg Hub. Sorry I went off so long on that, guys. Porg Hub writes, to me, Stephen Amell is the Arrowverse. To me, Stephen Amell is the Arrowverse, so have been all for this. Oh, I would have, you probably meant I would have been all for this, but what would your reaction have been if Crisis killed the Arrowverse entirely and all the characters were moved to the DC Universe streaming where there's more creative freedom? What makes you think they would have had any more creative freedom? I don't know that they would have had any more creative freedom. See, one of the interesting things about the CW experiment was the whole idea, the concept of the Arrowverse on CW was it did have all of its creative freedom. It was separate from the movie universe. They didn't have to worry about anything, and they had all the creative freedom. And just slowly, little bit by little bit, WB started taking some of that creative freedom away. Guess what? WB owns the DC streaming service too. So I really don't think there would have been any more creative freedom. Other than they get to be rated R, but I don't care about that. I just care about whether you make a good show. But since the problems with freedom on CW came from WB, I don't know why there'd be any reason to expect that there would be any less problems if they all of a sudden just magically popped up on the DC streaming service. By the way, I don't know that the DC streaming service is going to be around much longer. I know a lot of you guys also think that it's just inevitable that at some point they're going to make the announcement that the DC streaming service is being shut down and absorbed into HBO Max. They haven't announced that. I haven't heard any official word about that, but I think a lot of us are expecting that. So I don't know that it would work. I don't know that it would have made a lot of a difference. But by the way, Pork, I agree with you. To me, the Arrowverse was Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell and Arrow was the Arrowverse. And I have a hard time. I haven't watched anything. I don't know what's come back and what hasn't. I haven't watched anything of the Arrowverse since he died on Crisis. I mean, I watched the final episode and everything, but I haven't watched the subsequent Arrow final episodes. I don't know if Flash has come back yet or not. I haven't watched that. I haven't watched Black. I mean, there's kind of a part of me that feels like the Arrowverse is gone with Stephen Amell gone. And maybe I'll get over that. Who knows? We'll see. All right. Poor guy also writes, I know you're not excited for Birds of Prey, but I'm hyped. I love Margot Robbie's take on Harley Quinn, even in an overall bad Suicide Squad. And I have never seen a movie, I've never seen a more striking woman with almost no dialogue as she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh yeah, her character was completely useless in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but listen, Margot Robbie isn't just beautiful. Okay, I get it. A lot of people, when we think of Margot Robbie, it's like, oh, she's hot. And she is. Yeah, absolutely she is. She's completely hot. Undeniably. Oh my God, look at her in Wolf of Wall Street. But she is a top shelf actress. Like absolutely top shelf actress. I mean, if you haven't seen I, Tonya, watch her in I, Tonya. She's a top shelf actress. And I've also very much like her rendition of Harley Quinn. And yeah, I'm not excited for Birds of Prey, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to go in with high hopes. I will go in with high hopes, but low expectations. Maybe, but listen, that's the same way I went into the Harley Quinn animated show. High hopes, completely low expectations. And now I love it. So maybe the same thing will happen with Birds of Prey. One can hope. Don't know for sure, but maybe. As a matter of fact, I just got my invite. I got my invite to a screening of Harley Quinn. However, it's only like 2 days before the movie opens. So I'm like, what's the point? I don't know that I'm going to go out of my way to travel down like into West LA just so I can watch a movie like 36 hours before I can go see it in the movie theater right up the street from me. So I don't know, but I'm curious. I'm curious. Listen, a social media embargo lifts tomorrow, I believe. I believe the social media embargo I believe lifts today or tonight. So maybe we're going to start seeing some reactions to it. I haven't seen them yet myself. Maybe they're out already. Maybe they started coming out as I was doing the show. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up is Mark, who writes, just watched Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Ben Affleck's cameo is more heartfelt and important to the story than any of the cameos in Crisis. The movie starts rough, but ends up being pretty good, especially once they reach Chronic Con. Solid 7 out of 10. It's interesting because I've heard a lot of mixed things. About it. I've heard some people say they really didn't enjoy it very much. Some people say they absolutely love it. I'm glad to hear that you thought it was pretty solid. I mean, that's all you can ever hope for, right? We go into a movie, hope to have a good time. It sounds like you had a pretty good time, Mark, and I remain a big Kevin Smith fan. Obviously, I am dying to see another Clerks because I love Clerks 2. Clerks 2 is my favorite Kevin Smith movie, and I'm dying for him to get that third one made. So here's hoping it will be. All right, Patrick Conway writes, won't Murtaugh be 90 now if he was 50 in the 80s? Theoretically, he should be. I mean, Danny Glover's in his mid-70s, so I'm not quite sure how they'll play it out, but he'll be an older character, that's for sure. Russell Amador writes, hey, John, does the new F9 Fast and Furious, so name I know, move the interest needle for you? The past few have centered around heists, and the last one had Rock redirecting a freaking torpedo with his bare hands. Should we expect something fresh? Well, listen, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show today. This new clip that they put out, it's got my mind racing, no pun intended. It's got my mind racing about where are they going with this movie? Could there be another heist kind of element to it? Could it be a vengeance play? Like, again, I watch this, I'm like, I'm afraid for this kid. I'm afraid for this kid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never been worried for the characters before. I just want to see explosions and actions and cars and heists, and it's all fun. And I eat up the F9 or the Fast and Furious franchise. Once we got to Fast and Furious 4, I didn't like the first 3, but that's what I love about the Fast and Furious franchise. And now I'm actually like, oh, I found myself being worried for this kid. So I don't know, but look, if I had to guess, and we'll know more, Russell, once the actual trailer comes out on Friday. But if I had to guess right now, my guess is they are going to do something a little bit different. I don't know how different, but we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. All right, Superman Steve writes, John, when you finally release your documentary, can you please make... What do you mean finally? I just started it. Cut me some slack, Superman. Cut me some slack. When you finally release your documentary, can you please make sure that we have it available here in Australia to watch, please? Well, I mean, look, that will be beyond my control. I mean, it all depends. Look, I'm making this documentary, and we're off to a good start. I got to say, we're off to a really good start. I'm super thrilled with the stuff we shot so far. I like the plan that we have. I love the people that we have getting involved in it. It's going better than I could have thought. But the reality is that I am directing and producing this documentary, which means could be a giant bag of shit. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be terrible. I don't know. But there's a possibility here that this thing just ends up on YouTube. This could be an hour and a half, little feature that I just put up on YouTube. And now I actually already have had a couple of distributors, shockingly, express interest in it. So, I mean, where and when it'll play will largely depend on if I do get a distributor for it. And that's a big if. I mean, that's a monstrous if. But if it does end up getting a distributor, then that's going to be up to the distributor to decide where and when and how or whatever. But look, like any project, at some point, you're going to be able to get it anywhere and everywhere. When? I don't know, because that probably won't be up to me. If I do give it to a distributor, that probably won't be my call. But at some point, somehow, some way, everything becomes available everywhere. So we'll have to wait and see. But thank you for your interest, Superman Steve. All right, Captain Buckles writes, I'm the justice you can't run from. Oh, I can't remember what that's from. That sounds so brutally familiar. And by the way, tip of the cap for putting on Captain Buckles as your name, Captain Buckles. I can't remember where that's from. I'm sure everybody in the chat board knows exactly what that's from. Is probably screaming at their computer monitors what it is. Let's see. Let's move on here. Next one, Matthew Phillips writes, the good Canadian kid Edge has returned to the WWE. I'm telling you what, that was pretty cool. I don't watch a lot of wrestling anymore. But we will get together. We'll get a bunch of friends together on some of the big major things like WrestleMania or what was the name of the event? Royal Rumble. So we had a bunch of us over. We got the pay-per-view and watched it. And we were all like, oh my, that's Edge's music. Is Edge coming back out? And Edge came back out. That was really cool to see. That was a really good moment. All right. Matthew Phillips also writes, do you think we'll see Thanos again in the MCU, whether it's in a flashback or his younger self or past involvement in another Marvel character? I think he's too popular not to show up again someday. I've got two answers to that. Number one, I hope not. Thanos played his part. Thanos played his role. Thanos is gone. I mean, hell, they killed him twice in the same movie. So Thanos is gone. He's played his part. He's played his role. He should be gone. That said, this is the Marvel Cinematic Fake Death universe. So totally, we could. As a matter of fact, if you know your comic book lore a little bit about the Eternals, there's a very direct connection between Thanos and the Eternals. And so there is a possibility we could see a younger Thanos. Depending on how they structure Eternals, there's a possibility we could see that. And beyond that, of course, it's the Marvel Cinematic Fake Death universe. How many times have they killed Loki? Guess what? We got a Loki show coming. So it's possible, but I think the right thing to do is he's played his part. He was a big chapter. You definitively ended him. You actually killed him twice in the same movie. Leave him dead. That's how I feel they should do it, but again, Marvel Fake Death universe, they could very, very well bring him back. All right, Captain Chicken Pants writes, out of Aliens, Predator, and Terminator, all of which are in limbo at the moment, what franchise out of the three do you think has the potential to return to form if and when we see another installment? I think out of all those, the one that has the biggest potential is Terminator. The reason I believe that one has the biggest potential, not that the other ones couldn't, but with Terminator, there's a lot more you can do. Like, aliens are just savaging monsters running around. I mean, and predators don't speak. So, I mean, so there is potential there for those. Absolutely. I'm just saying there's a lot more that in the hands of a new creator and a new director and a new writer, and you just tell them, go nuts with this Terminator thing. Do something if you want to do with this world of Terminator. I think that has the most potential. So we'll have to wait and see. Raf Castillo writes, Neat, the documentary about bourbon, was a good recommendation. For those of you who don't know what Raph is talking about, I recommended this little documentary that my wife turned me on to. It's on Hulu. It's just called Neat. And it's about bourbon. I don't even drink. And I was fascinated by this documentary. It's short too. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes long. I highly recommend it. It's a really nicely done little documentary. Anyway, was a good recommendation. I thoroughly enjoyed it and loved the son/father/brother story. That was so beautiful. And I understand why you wanted to drink bourbon with Anne. I could have done without Steve Zahn. I actually thought Steve Zahn was a nice little, like, you remember how we were talking about Jojo Rabbit? That, you get into the heavy stuff and then he brings it back with laughs and blah, blah, blah. I thought Steve Zahn, one of the challenges with a documentary, for people who don't really know what they're doing like me, is that how do you break it up and tell it as a story, but not always just have it as talking heads. You know what I mean? And I actually thought the use of Steve Zahn as a transition point, as a gear change transition mechanism, I actually thought it worked quite well. I do. I really thought it worked quite well. Again, and it broke up the movie a little bit. It let it change gears a touch, and it kept it from just being all talking head kind of stuff, which it was still fascinating as that. But I actually thought Zahn kind of worked. But anyway, Ref, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. And many of you guys, listen, you should check it out because I think it's a very, very well done documentary. Anyway, Weed Richards, nice play on it there, writes, "Hey, John, I figured out the voice. If you play Endgame backwards while watching Wizard of Oz and listening to Pink Floyd," she says, "Hail Hydra." Of course, the debate came up again because somebody had sent in a $50 super chat, and that was brought up again, the topic of, do you hear "I have telepathy" in that scene in Endgame? And you don't. It's not there. Your ears and brains are fooling you. But at any rate, that came up again, but I like that. Okay, so if you're playing Endgame backwards while watching Wizard of Oz and listening to Pink Floyd, you'll hear "Hail Hydra." Well said, Weed Richards. Well said. All right, Andres writes, "Hey, John, I've been reading The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company by Bob Iger, and a very good read." Listen, I'm actually well behind. I bought it on Audible. So I've got it sitting on my phone waiting for me to listen to. So maybe if I do take this trip to England, that's when I'll listen to it. I'll sit down and go. I read some excerpts because there are excerpts out there, and I read some excerpts, and I desperately want to read this thing. So thank you for the recommendation, Andres. I'm glad you got it because he is, while he's an executive, he is one of the, if not maybe the most important figure in all of entertainment. And to get his perspective in a book like that, I think would be really insightful. So I'm actually really looking forward to checking it out. So thanks for sharing that, man. All right, Star Wars Rocks writes, number 1 of 2. "Hey, John, we all know how much you love the Harley Quinn show's writing, as the Young Justice writers are now writing for both shows, and they don't quote-unquote job Batman and Superman in Young Justice. Then why don't you give it a try? You never know, you might end up liking it as much as the Harley Quinn, so don't judge a book by its cover if you're not willing to give it a shot." Oh, no, I tried Young Justice. I did. I don't like it. I like very little. There are exceptions, but there's actually very little Marvel or DC animated stuff that I enjoy. Again, there are some exceptions. There are a couple of ones that I do really enjoy, but it's rare. And I did try Young Justice. I did. And it does not work for me. I just doesn't work for me. And so I tried it. But I mean, this whole thing of, oh no, you got to try it. Like, do you try everything? Do you try everything? Have you watched Chicago Med? If not, why not? You got to try everything. Try it all. Well, no, you have a sense for what it is you like, and you have a sense for what it is you don't like, and you only have a limited amount of time. So you will dedicate what little time you have to checking out things that look like they fall more in line with what you enjoy. In the case, though, of Young Justice, I did. I watched like half of season 1. I might have even watched all of season 1, depending if I remember where season 1 ended. And it just didn't work for me. That's all. I'm not saying nobody else should like it. I'm not saying you shouldn't like it. I'm not saying anybody else shouldn't check it out. None of that. I'm just saying I tried it. Did not work for me. And, a filmmaker makes a great movie, and then if the same filmmaker makes another movie that we don't like, just because the same people are working on it doesn't automatically mean you're going to like it. And again, for me, Harley worked, but Young Justice was one of the reasons I didn't think Harley Quinn would work for me. But it is. Again, I'm not saying it's not great. I'm not saying you should. I'm not trying to yuck on anybody's yum. If you like Young Justice, that's awesome. I want everybody to like everything, even if it's stuff that I don't enjoy. But yeah, I'm not going to magically start liking it. I tried it. Doesn't work for me, just like most Marvel and not all, most Marvel and DC stuff doesn't work for me, unfortunately. But thanks for the encouragement anyway, dude. I appreciate it. All right. Kenneth Colton writes, "Hey, Gio. Where are we at here? Surprised to hear Dan Lin talking about a Lethal Weapon 5 with the original cast, plus Richard Donner at 90. Wow, it's been 22 years. Yeah, I mean, listen, I get the desire to do it. Hell, I would love to see it. I mean, why not? I mean, Donner hasn't done anything in ages. It's not like Mel is super busy or Danny's super busy. And these were some of the best things they've done. I mean, why wouldn't you have the desire to come back and do it? Of course they do. I understand that. I just have my doubts it'll actually happen. And I'm not sure how many people outside of me and a few of us hardcore guys who remember it really fondly, I don't know how many more people outside of us would be lining up to go see it. And I'm just not sure a studio is actually going to greenlight it. It's great for the people receiving the paychecks to be excited. But until somebody comes along who's going to write the paychecks, I don't know. But fingers crossed, Kenneth. Fingers crossed. Because like I said, I would be very intrigued to see it. I would love to see it. All right. ZMG Ruler writes, saw a video of the Bryant's and company crash. I was shocked. I'm sure. I have no desire to see anything like that. Just see. I have no desire to see it. But I got to imagine watching it would be really disturbing. Unwise Whoa, right? I like that name. Yo, John, I read an interesting headline today. Lethal Weapon 5 supposedly in the works, which sounds awesome. Have you heard about this? Hashtag ketchup on eggs. Ooh, ketchup on eggs. Not that I have any problem if any of you like ketchup on eggs. To me, though, no thank you. Obviously, yes, we talked about it in one of the main topics of the show today. And again, I'm intrigued. I personally am intrigued. I would like to see this. I just don't actually believe it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, though. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see it. I just don't think it'll actually happen. All right, Jonah writes, I don't like the Transformers. Not everybody does. But one aspect of all those movies I love is Steve Jablonsky's score. It's phenomenal. I'll admit, though, I also like the big Chicago battle in the third movie. Dark of the Moon, the rest of that movie is still trash. And a lot of people do like that battle, actually. I mean, to me, action without narrative purpose is just visual noise, but whatever. But I'll tell you what. One of the great things about going, like Ann and I we just live a 15-minute, literally, you get on the road, that's about 50 paces in front of our house, and then just go straight down the road for 15 minutes, you're at Universal Studios, Hollywood. And one of the great things about going to, and so Ann and I bought annual passes because we live so close. And one of the great things about going around Universal Studios, Hollywood, is every once in a while you'll hear that Transformers music. Bum 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 bum. And when it starts playing, I get goosebumps. It is just fantastic. The music in the Transformers, both score and song selection, like the Linkin Park stuff that they play in Transformers is awesome too. Both score and sound selection. The music of the Transformers is great. And even to this day, like we go down to Universal, I hear that music playing, I'm just like, I just stop and think about it for a second. As a matter of fact, I totally shouldn't do this. I'm wasting everybody's time. But let me see if I can find this one thing. I'm not sure that I can. Where's Ann? Oh, I must have this on my thing here. One of our more recent trips. Oh, there it is. It was great. Ann and I went down, and let me see if I can pull this up here. There we go. Ann and I went down, and this isn't a statue. This Megatron you see right here, the Megatron, not a statue. It's actually like, I don't know how they pull it off, but it's some kind of big costume or whatever. I'm not quite sure how they do it, to be honest with you. But like he'll talk, and like this giant Megatron he moves and he talks to you and he mocks you and makes fun of you. And they have this Transformers score playing around the area where he is, and he's really funny the way he mocks people. And it's totally in the Megatron voice, and he totally makes fun of people and mocks them as they're doing their thing, which is really kind of funny. So yeah, but yes, the music totally takes me there. I do love the music, Jonah, I gotta say. All right, AV Cali writes, first time experienced an earthquake here in Miami. I heard about that. I don't know anything about it, but I heard about that. After that 7.7 earthquake down in Cuba yesterday, felt the whole office building sway back and forth. An earthquake is off-putting. I mean, it's disconcerting even. Like I remember, you guys saw, we were doing our show live. And we had me, Aaron, and Chris in studio. Do you guys remember this? And the earthquake hit and everything fell over and there was things crashing all over the place. And I think even for people who have lived in LA for like 40 years and you'd think would be used to it. Like it doesn't wire with our brain that the earth under our feet starts to move. I mean, it doesn't wire with our brain. And I can only imagine that people who live in areas that aren't used to earthquakes, it's got to be like even 10 times more off-putting. I got to imagine. So, yeah, 7.7, man. Like I don't know much about what happened or anything like that, but I just heard like a 7.7 quake. That's significant, dude. Anyway, glad you're okay, and I hope everybody else you know and everything are all okay as well. Thanks for sharing that, man. All right. Lino Cree writes, "Morning, John. I just wanted to write in to say, over the years, you've inspired me to actually do something within the industry, and now I'm an assistant to the literary department over at the United Talent Agency in LA. I hope to shake your hand one day." Dude, that is awesome. Listen, I know people, absolutely 100% true story here. I know people in LA who are now significant, let's say that started just in things like that. Literary assistant. Hell, I know somebody who's an actress now of some fame who started as a personal masseuse to people in Hollywood. I mean, just getting in there and doing it and putting in the work, good on you, dude. That is awesome. I'm excited to hear that. And that's no small gig. Getting any gig at a place like UTA, that is no small gig. Good on you, man. That's exciting. Congratulations. And please, if you ever do see me around, please do come up and say hi. All right. Mr. TJ Lynn writes, John, if daily email getting picked as a main topic of the John Campea Show is akin to getting an Oscar nomination, then Geeky Gator is our Meryl Streep, LOL. I'm game, though, because Geeky always brings up relevant and interesting topics. Yeah, listen, it is true. Geeky Gator's emails do get picked at least once, sometimes twice a week. But Geeky Gator is also sending in really good email topics, usually revolving around the big stories that are out. Or not necessarily the biggest stories, because here's what happens. Something happens. Like, I don't know, what was one of the big movie news stories recently? I'm trying to think of what one of the big movie news stories was. I don't know. Let's say when the Fast and Furious trailer comes out, right? So here's what'll happen. When the Fast and the Furious trailer comes out, I will get 50 to 100 emails about Fast and Furious trailer. What Geeky Gator will often do is he'll write in the second or third most important ones that nobody else writes in about, right? And so you actually end up, so Geeky Gator actually does it really smart. And I'm not one of these people that goes, I'm not trying to be political at all. It's just like, no, I can't pick Geeky Gators because I've already picked them. No, if that's the best email to put up here and it's relevant to a story we should talk about, then I'm going to pick it. But some people can take lessons from that. Some people can take lessons from that. But yes, Geeky Gator would be the Meryl Streep. All right, David Zuckerman writes, I know you don't have much spare time, but I also know you love bromance. I do, actually. You may not cry much in movies, but this movie might get you. Give Netflix's Paddleton a chance. 90% Rotten Tomatoes. Of the over 150 movies I've seen in 2019, it is the most emotional. I know that movie. I know I haven't seen it. Hold on a second. Which one's Paddleton again? Paddleton, IMDb. Which one is this? Mark Duplass, Ray Romano. I'm not even familiar with it. I'm not even familiar with this one. Okay. Because I like Duplass and I really like Ray Romano. And it's like some kind of tennis thing. I'm not even, I said, no, I know this movie, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, actually, no, I don't. I don't know this movie at all. That looks really cool. Thank you for putting that on my radar, man. That does sound like a movie. It's got sports that are involved in it. It sounds like one that's right up my alley. Thank you so much for the recommendation, David. I'm going to keep my eye open for that one. Thank you so much, sir. All right. Next up here, Stephen Stanley. And we're going to keep moving here because we've got to wrap up here soon, guys. Stephen Stanley writes, John, have you seen Code 8? I have not seen Code 8. It's the Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell thing. I have not seen yet. It's the Robbie and Stephen Amell indie movie that came out last year. I saw it last night and thought it was really great. Highly recommend. I'm not even sure where you find it. Do me a favor, Stephen. Can you email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com and let me know where to find it? I'll be honest, I I didn't love the trailer, but I mean, hey, it's a good Canadian kid. It's Stephen Amell. I like him. So I'll check it out. Just send me where I can find it, and I will go check it out. All right. Thank you for the heads up on that, Stephen. I appreciate it. And thank you for your recommendation. All right. Nosferatu writes, we are the knights who say, "Nee, you will bring us a shrubbery." Oh God, Holy Grail. Of course, Terry passed away, but Holy Grail. You know what? I know there are still a bunch of you because it's old. I know it was before my time too, but a bunch of you guys have not seen Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail. You've got to watch it. You got to watch it. Yes, there are parts of it that are really silly, but that's kind of the point. Only if you've seen Holy Grail will you know what that was about. Make sure you go and watch it because it's great. And they are indeed the knights who say "Nee." All right, Dr. Palpatine. Dr. Palpatine. I like that. All right, Dr. Palpatine. Call me doctor, please. Writes in the following. Well, Arrow is finally over. I was satisfied with the ending. I haven't seen it myself. And seeing everyone at Oliver's funeral. But I'm also torn on Martian Manhunter restoring memories. You know what? It's a $50 tip and I appreciate that, dude. But you can't... Well, it already aired. And the stars are I already saw some of the stars were tweeting about it. So once the stars make it public information, it's public information. So there we go. I was satisfied with the ending of seeing everyone at Oliver's funeral, but I'm also torn on Martian Manhunter restoring memories and the dead coming back. It feels great, but cheap at the same time. Thoughts? I haven't watched it. So what I'll do, Dr. Palpatine, because what we do here is when people send in a tip or a super chat, whatever, that's $50 or more, then what we do is we also answer it in its standalone thing. So normally I'll answer it here and then I'll also answer it in a standalone thing, in a standalone video, but I haven't seen it yet. So I will watch it because I've followed Arrow for so long. Even though I'm not interested in the finale, I will watch it. So I'll tell you what, I will watch it and then I'll answer your question properly in its own standalone video in the coming week. So keep your eyes open for that. And Doctor, hey, listen, thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level. Myself, Ray, Jonathan, Chris, Aaron, Robert Meyer, we all thank you for supporting the channel on that level. So thank you for being somebody who supports the content they enjoy. We appreciate that. And keep your eyes open for that video to get made. Okay. Ross Pitt, Shark Hunter is a good name, writes, but John, January is almost over and we haven't heard your top 10 of 2020 so far. I'll tell you what my number one so far of 2020 is. The Gentleman. Gentleman is my number one film of 2020 so far. Guys, no one's going to see The Gentleman. Go see The Gentleman. I mean, if you hated Lock, Stock, and Snatch, don't, because you won't like this one. But anybody else, go see The Gentleman. It's so good. It's so good. It's so fun. Go watch it. I love this movie. All right. Thanks for that, Ross Pitt. And great name, Shark Hunter. All right. Troika writes, I'm late to the party, but I just caught up on Harley Quinn and I am so pleasantly surprised. I worried it'd be all edgy violence and language, but it's actually very funny, even heartfelt at times. It really is. The characters are wonderful and I just adore Deadpan Ivy. I will tell you what, this show does not work without Ivy. This show doesn't work nearly as well without that quasi-anchor character, Harley, or Ivy. Harley's great, King Shark is great, Dr. Psycho's great, they're all wonderful. But without Ivy there kind of being the anchor to everything, I don't know that this show works at all. And it's voiced by Lake Bell, who I may or may not have a little bit of a celebrity crush on. But it's voiced by Lake Bell, who does such a great, and you're right, the deadpan stuff of it is so well done. And I just got to get around to watching the final episode. But I'm with you, dude. I just love her in that. Well said. All right. R. Lee writes, studios can be a copycat business if they see success. With Bad Boys 3 doing well, Lethal Weapon 5 talk, does that trend encourage them to revisit old IP, feeling they can go back to the well one more time? Oh, come on. Let's not pretend like Bad Boys 3 is the first IP to come back after being gone for a long time. I mean, this is it's not like Bad Boys 3 did it first. It's not like there haven't been many others that did it. So I don't think the idea, listen, they've been talking about trying to get, I remember it was in 2018, 2017, Donner actually saying that he wanted to do Lethal Weapon 5 a couple years ago. I mean, nothing as definitive as Dan Lin saying now, nope, we got everybody back on board. We've got the story we want, blah, blah, blah. We're going to try. But Richard Donner's been talking for years, long before Bad Boys 3 came out. Probably before Bad Boys 3 was even announced, that he would like to do Lethal Weapon 5. And so will the success of Bad Boys 3 encourage them to give a shot to Lethal Weapon 5? It can't hurt. Because, right now, where is Bad Boys 3 right now? Hold on a second. Bad Boys 3 box office. It's an interesting question. As of right now, where is my box office mojo? There we go. Bad Boys for Life, at the moment, has made $217 million. Now, it still hasn't broken even, but it's still early. It will. This is going to be a profitable movie. $217 million worldwide. It's made $122 million domestically alone, which is not surprising. It's more of a U.S. movie than it is anywhere else. But they're not going to look at it and go, oh, look, it worked. Let's make Lethal Weapon 5, because there's also other properties that have done that and they've not worked. But it certainly can't hurt. Certainly can't hurt, Arlie. Can't hurt. So I still just don't think they do it. I mean, look, you're talking about Bad Boys. You're talking about two guys that are still much closer to being in their prime than, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. But listen, I want them to do it. I want to see it. Count me in. I just don't know if it'll be enough. Even with the success of Bad Boys 3, I don't know that it'll be enough. All right. It's time for a couple more guys here. The New World writes, do you think video games are recognized as a legit storytelling method? Because Red Dead Redemption 2 is the best storytelling I've seen in my life, and Dan, I'm still shaking. I don't think so. My take is this. The vast, despite what everybody says, so I'll say the unpopular thing. The vast majority of video games tell some great stories for video games. There are very few that actually just take the game out of it. Do you have a great story even when you take the game out of it? There's not as many. Not as many. Actually, extremely few, rare. I'd say extremely few. I think Uncharted, Thief's End. I think Uncharted 4 is one that could just be a movie. I mean, even if you take all the gameplay out, that story completely stands. I think Last of Us. Because we've seen lots of shows and movies that are like Last of Us, but Last of Us is a story that even when you remove all the gameplay, you got something really compelling. Something like the most recent God of War, that won Game of the Year. I think even when you take out all the game, you're left with a very compelling story. And listen, I know video games are extremely popular, and that's great, but I have always disagreed with the assessment that, the story in this game, it could be like, then you look at it, it's like, no, this is, and that's fine, because games are primarily meant for the experiential nature of gameplay. That's what games are for. And so that should be the focus, and that should be the impetus that everything else revolves around. There are a few that don't. But yeah, I think there are exceptions. I think there definitely are some games that come along that deliver a storytelling experience like that. But my personal opinion is that no, not on the most part. I think a lot of times we as people confuse that I had a great experience playing it and therefore I love the story, when really we need to separate that a bit. But I don't know. I could have my mind changed. I could totally, and we could see it more moving that way, by the way. We could see it moving more towards that way, where storytelling in and of itself might become a more emphasized element as we're getting games like Last of Us and God of War and things like that. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll see. All right. Let's see. Manny Garcia writes, Wayfaring Stranger for me is tear enduring scene of the year for me. Are you submitting Doc in any festivals? By the way, Kobe in LA, you hit on the spot. Thank you. Will I submit my documentary to any festivals? It really depends on, look, number one, when the movie's done, if I ever finish it, we're going to try. When the movie's done, the first thing I have to determine is, do I like it? Because if I don't like it, well, then what's the point? So that's the first thing that now, because no one is more likely to like the movie than the person who made it, right? So if I don't like it, then I'm definitely not doing anything with it. But the first documentary I ever did, Prince of Peace, God of War, it played in a number of festivals, and I actually won a couple of awards in some festivals. I had a really great experience putting it in festivals. Actually, the very first public screening of Prince of Peace, God of War was at the San Diego Film Festival. I submitted to the San Diego Film Festival, and that was the first public screening of it. And I got to go down to San Diego, and I watched it in a theater with people, and it was really exciting. It was exciting. It wasn't great. I mean, the documentary, I think it's a decent little documentary, but you could tell it's made by somebody who had no idea on how to make a documentary, this guy. But it was really exciting. It was a really, really neat experience sitting there in a theater with people watching a movie that you had made. A theater of people who don't know you. And that was exciting. So yes, if I finish it, which I should, and if I like it, which hopefully I will probably submit it to a number of festivals. Again, depending on, let's say, best case scenario. Best case scenario, a distributor actually wants to pick it up. Well, then that's going to be up to the distributor if they want to put it into festivals or not. At that point, it's out of my control. But otherwise, all other things being equal, what you normally need to do is play your film in festivals to get a distributor to pick it up. So yeah, if I finish it, which I should, and if I like it, which I hope I do, then I will submit it to festivals. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. All right. V410 Graphs writes, here they are making a Lethal Weapon 5 with original cast. That's what they're hoping to do. I mean, again, I have my doubts that it'll happen, but I hope it does, and I will definitely be there to see it if they indeed make this thing. Again, I just think it's questionable as to whether it happens or not. An anonymous viewer writes, I'm the justice you can't run from is actually the Captain Buckles' first phrase in season 3 Arrow episode when she attacked the guy. Oh my God, you're right. And I should have put that together when you called it Captain Buckles. So Captain Buckles, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, to me, that was the jump the shark moment for Arrow. Now, Arrow then kind of came back for me and then kind of drifted away again and then came back and all that kind of stuff. But I was in love with Arrow. I loved that show. I called myself an Arrow-vangelist. I was an evangelist for Arrow. I was spreading the word as fast as I could to everybody who would listen. Check out this show, Arrow. I used to love it. And then the jump the shark moment for me came with Captain Buckles. When they so forcefully, unnaturally, jarringly just said, Laurel's taken a couple of night boxing lessons. Put her in a leather outfit with 5,000 buckles inexplicably all over the place in her costume and make her a superhero. And I remember for me, that was like, you've got to be effing kidding me. You got to be effing kidding me. And I remember sitting with Stephen Amell, who I'm still to this day a massive fan of Stephen Amell. I think he's great. But I remember being very honest with him. And it was before the Captain Buckles thing happened. But I felt like that's where they were going, which was so awkward. And I remember saying to Stephen, I said, dude, if you guys do this, which I think you guys are heading towards, and hopefully I'm wrong, don't give me any spoilers. But if you guys take this Laurel character who maybe takes a couple of evening boxing took literally for a very short period of time, took a couple of evening night classes, boxing night classes. If you guys suddenly make her Canary just like that and have her out on the streets fighting crime, I think I might give up on the show. To which Stephen Amell looked at me and said, Jesus. I'm like, I know that sounds harsh and everything, but it would be really that bad. And then of course they did something just that bad and came out with Captain Buckles, and it was something they never really recovered from. They never really recovered from that, I don't think, which is too bad because Stephen Amell is so good in that role and the character is so good. But anyway, that was just kind of my thoughts on it. All right. Anakin Skywalker writes, I can't believe that you don't like a cartoon that I like. Now I'm going to write mean things about you on Twitter. Hey, dude, welcome to the internet. Welcome to the internet. I know it's kind of funny, whatever. But it's true. But listen, it happens to a lot of people all the time. We see this happen all the time. Like, Somebody says they don't like Avengers. They get death threats. Somebody says they don't like, they didn't like Batman versus Superman. They get tons of hate mail. Somebody says they like The Last Jedi. They get called shill and get called all sorts of names and all that kind of stuff. Somebody says they don't like this fucking ridiculous Ahsoka Tano character. People are going to whine and bitch and complain. But it's life. That's part of it. I mean, this is something that I've understood and been a part of and experienced since I was doing the movie blog. Look, when you get online for a living and you give your opinion on something for a living, you got to understand there's going to be a lot of people who love it and there are going to be people who hate it. And if you don't understand that, then this is the wrong business for you to be in. And the only way to avoid that is to never actually give your honest opinion. The only way to avoid it is to never actually give your honest opinion. And like for me, my whole thing has always been, I'm always going to give my actual thoughts. I'm going to, like, you may love my thoughts, you may hate my thoughts, but you're never going to question whether the things I tell you are actually what I think, right? Because that's all I have. All I have are my honest opinions. And if I feel strongly about something, I'm going to say something strongly. If I feel negatively about something, I'm going to say something. I'm going to express that I feel negatively about it. If I feel positive about something, I'm going to express that I positively feel about it. And you may like it or not like it. You may agree with it or not agree with it, but you will always know, you never have to wonder if it's what I actually think. Because all I have to offer are my actual thoughts and my actual opinions. And anything else would be a disservice to my viewers. Anything else would be an absolute insult and disservice to my viewers. But that means sometimes I'm going to say things that you don't agree with. And sometimes I'm going to say things that you do agree with. And that's okay. Because I don't want viewers who only agree with what I think. And I don't want viewers who only disagree with what I think. The whole idea about the film fan community is that we are going to have different opinions, sometimes strongly different opinions, and we get to be film fans together anyway. So, I don't like Young Justice, but it doesn't mean I don't want you to not like it. If you do, that's great. I don't like The Rise of Skywalker. That doesn't mean I don't want you to like it. If you don't, that's great. I happen to appreciate The Last Jedi. Doesn't mean I think you should dislike it. Doesn't mean I think you need to like The Last Jedi. You may hate it. Okay, that's fine if you do. But you got to understand, and I tell everybody this who has ever worked for me, that the moment you get on a camera and start giving your opinions, you are going to feel a massive temptation to lie. Because you're going to be hit with fears that what I'm about to say might not be popular. And you're going to have a natural inclination that you're going to want to shrink away from that. And you can't do it. But you also got to understand that when you get on camera and give your thoughts and opinions, and whether they're strong, moderate, whatever, you're going to get people that like it and don't like it. And you just got to be okay with that. And you just got to say, I don't care. I don't care. My priority is always to give my actual thought, my actual opinion. And I expect and hope, whenever I give my thoughts and opinion, that there are going to be people who agree with me and people who disagree with me. And outside of that, I don't care. I simply don't care. I've been doing this a long time. And I've just learned those lessons. But anyway, there's that. All right. Star Wars Rocks writes, hey, John, when I recommended Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Chat Noir in yesterday's show, I said it was an anime because that's what it was going to be originally. And I remember I looked at, I see, because I looked at wow, this looks more like that's right. Because I remember I looked at it and said, wow, this looks more kind of like a Pixar sort of thing. But it was originally designed to be an anime. I get what you're saying. By the way, it still did look pretty intriguing. It looked pretty intriguing. I may have to I think I might have to watch that at some point because it looked really intriguing to me and the style of it was pretty cool. So thanks for following up on that. All right, Star Wars Rocks writes, hey, John. Speaking of Transformers, I grew up watching Transformers Prime on the Cartoon Network. So what if the other Transformers live action movie they are working on is a Transformers Prime live action movie? There's been nothing to suggest that. As of right now, there has been nothing to suggest that. So I highly doubt. Plus, Transformers Prime was actually not watched by all that many people. So there wouldn't have as direct of a... and by the way, I'm not downplaying Transformers Prime. I'm just saying I haven't seen anything that would even remotely suggest that that's the case. So I wouldn't get your hopes worked up. Doesn't mean it's not possible. And it doesn't mean they couldn't borrow elements from that to bring it into something else too. But just at this point, I have seen and heard nothing that would suggest that they're looking at doing more of a direct adaptation of Transformers Prime into a live action thing. Just haven't heard anything about that on that level. But again, never know. And even then, if they don't, they could still bring in some elements. So let's see what happens there. All right. Jonah writes, John, I said I don't like the Transformers sequels, not Transformers as a whole. I actually really like the franchise and the animated film and the first Michael Bay film. I'm with you, except for that damn animated film. I have never forgiven Hasbro. And listen, full disclosure, Hasbro contributes half of my household income, okay? My wife, clearly a person over at Hasbro. All due respect to my wife and all due respect to the company that employs her and provides half of my household income. All due respect to Hasbro. But fuck Hasbro for what they did in that Transformers animated movie. I have never forgiven them for what they did in that animated movie. Now, I know a lot of my close friends absolutely love that Transformers animated movie. And there's elements to it that are very cool. Like the whole, so one shall stand, one shall fall. Dare to keep all your dreams alive. I mean, yeah, okay, there are great moments. But I've always had a fuck Hasbro. And again, they supply half of my household income and everything, and I thank them for that. However, that does not make up for what they did with that damn original animated movie. I'm a kid, right? I have collected Transformers most of my life. My wall was plastered with Transformers packaging that I would cut out of the packaging when I buy a new Transformer and glue it to my walls. Well, I use tape, so not to kill the paint, but I taped them onto my walls. I collected these things. I'd been a loyal Transformers fan. And what did Hasbro do? Oh, hey kids. You know, we are so grateful here at Hasbro that you guys have supported the Transformers and the adventures of Optimus Prime and Wheeljack and Ironside and Prowl and, Cliff Jumper and Bumblebee and, the Decepticons. And, oh, thank you so much, guys. You guys have bought all these toys. You spent every bit of allowance money that your parents have ever given you to buy these toys and celebrate that property. Oh, thank you so much. So to reward you, know what we're going to do right now? Kill all of them. We're going to kill them all. Oh, you liked Ironside, do you? Guess what? He's dead. Oh, you like Starscream? Guess what? Galvatron's going to shoot him and kill him. He's dead now. Oh, you like these Autobots? They're all dead too. And then the real fist up the ass was, oh, you love Optimus Prime? Yeah, we're going to kill him in the first 15 minutes of the movie. But don't you worry, kiddos. Look at all these new Transformers you have to buy now. You might as well put all those other ones away. We got all these new toys you have to buy. I just always felt as a kid and as a man and as a fan that was Hasbro giving us the biggest non-lube rim job double effers you can possibly imagine that they ever did. It's like, thank you so much for supporting us. Now, fuck you. We're killing them all. In the first 10 minutes of this movie, we're killing everybody you love. We're killing them all. And now you get to buy all these new toys. But you're going to keep Optimus Prime. Nope, he's going to die too. And guess what? His death scene was a really cool death scene, battling it out with Megatron. It was a great scene. Absolutely, no doubt. No doubt it was a great scene. But literally 10 minutes in, and the only Autobot that survives that we knew was Bumblebee. Actually, I think Jazz survived too. If I'm not mistaken, I think Jazz is the only other Autobot that survived that we knew at that point. That was one of the OG G1 Generation 1 Transformers survived. And they just said, no, we're just going to kill them all. And to make sure we don't, we're not, being ambiguous about the fact that we're killing them all, we're going to do it in our animated movie. So screw all of you. It's like, fuck Rodimus Prime. Fuck Ultra Magnus. I actually like Ultra Magnus, but screw Ultra Magnus. Trying to take the matrix of leadership. Some of you have no idea what it is I'm ranting about here, but it's just, And I get it. There are people who love that animated movie. My best friends love that Transformers animated movie. But for me, even as a kid, I'm just like, you sons of bitches. You killed them all in the first 10 minutes. I wanted to see a Transformers movie. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Sunstreaker, and I wanted to see Prime, and I want to see these guys have a 2 hour, hour and a half long, whatever, adventure, blah, 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 blah. Instead, they used the first 10 minutes of the movie to say, to all of you who bought our toys, they're all dead now. They're all dead. I've never forgiven Hasbro. Never forgiven them. Thank you, Hasbro, for providing half of my household income, but I'm still holding on to this grudge. It bothers me. John, maybe you take Transformers a little too seriously. Maybe you can make an argument for that. I think you can maybe make an argument for that. But anyway, and now listen, and then later they realized their mistake and they started bringing characters back, like they brought Optimus Prime back and all. But anyway, it was just such a waste. Anyway, where were we? Sorry, went off on that wild tangent. I'm sorry about that, guys. Jay Master writes, hey, John, have you checked out the new Disney Plus series, Diary of a Future President? Special guest starring Gina Rodriguez is really good. I highly recommend it. Also, did you hear The World According to Jeff Goldblum got renewed for season 2? Yes, actually, that came out a couple of weeks ago, I think. I think they announced that Jeff Goldblum's show got renewed a couple of weeks ago. I have not seen The Diary of a Future President, but it was they showed us a big, long preview for it at D23 months ago. And I got to say, it looked good. It did. It looked good. So I didn't know they had dropped it yet. Oh, by the way, Jay Master sends in a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, Jay Master, for supporting the channel at that level. And you know what? Just like I'm going to do for the Arrow thing, I will make sure I watch the first couple of episodes at least of this Diary of a Future President. And I'll be able to answer this more in depth a little bit later when I'll do a standalone video for you on that. But it did look good. I mean, not like I'm drooling at the mouth. It looks Mandalorian good sort of thing. But I remember watching it and going, this looks like it could be pretty interesting. This looks like it could be fun. So, I mean, not like their High School Musical trash that I didn't like. No offense to anybody who likes High School Musical, the musical, but I'm just saying it didn't look good to me. Maybe it's awesome. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But the previews didn't look good. To be honest with you, there was a lot of stuff at the D23 Disney Plus presentation that didn't actually look all that good, and then some things that looked absolutely wonderful. But I think Diary of a Future President was one of the more positive looking ones. So I will keep my eye open for that. I will watch the first couple episodes, and then we will address your question a little better a little further on. All right, final question of the day, guys. Then we're going to wrap things up here. Mike T54 writes, wanted to say hi. I'm at work, so I will watch later. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that very, very much. Optimus Prime then writes, John, go slash your neighbor's tires. So what I said on the show yesterday, and just wrote in the name Optimus Prime. What I said on the show yesterday is like, listen, Optimus Prime meant so much to me as a kid. I said on the show yesterday that if in a vision, the voice of Optimus Prime came to me and said, John, go and slash your neighbor's tires, I would have pulled a butcher's knife from my mother's kitchen and gone to the neighbors and slashed their tires. Just because, and what would my defense have been? Optimus Prime told me to do it, Your Honor. And the judge will go, case dismissed. If Optimus Prime told you to do it, you do it. I mean, that's just how much the voice of Optimus Prime did to me. And the last one, I'll just get this. RJ, should I get Warcraft 3 Reforged, Sean? I haven't tried it yet, but I plan on getting it. I played an unspeakable amount of Warcraft 3 before World of Warcraft came out. So I personally plan on checking it out, but I cannot give a recommendation since I haven't tried it yet myself. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of it. Listen, guys, if you want to get your questions in early for tomorrow's show, you can go ahead and use that tip link that's in the top line of the description of this video anytime, even if you just want to support the show or if you want to send in a question. If you start sending in early, it'll actually be the first one's answered tomorrow. But tomorrow, once again, don't forget, the very first questions we're going to answer, and I'm asking everybody to participate in this in any way that you can, will be, of course, we've done this a couple of other times. We're going to do it again here. The 1736 Family Crisis Center needs your support. It's a great thing for families in dire situations. situations, including women and children who are getting out of abusive situations. Go find their website, donate, take a screenshot of your donation. Doesn't matter how much it is. And then email a question to me for tomorrow's show to john@thejohncampeashow.com and include the screenshot of your donation. And I will make your questions the first questions we answer on the show. And then I will add up all the donations that came in and I will match the donations you came in and we will double up and we'll give some support to a really good cause. So make sure you guys join me and do that as well. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys then. We're already starting to work on the topics for tomorrow. I will see you then, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.